Hey everyone, I'm Mike. This is my video going over the week one readings. The readings to me were kind of split up into two different categories. The first was more directed towards how your brands communicate for your company. The second focused more on the actual communication. Uh, Under the brands, there were kind of two different articles. One of them was the 8-word mission statement. The other was the one about the idea structure to build your brands. The 8-word mission statement I thought was really good. It really helps companies communicate what their core mission is and how they complete that. It discussed specifically a lot with nonprofits, but on the for-profit side, it's equally as important. I looked up just some different nonprofits and stuff, and I found the Wounded Warrior Project. I'm sure everyone's seen their commercials or heard of them, in some different way. But theirs kind of even had some trigger words that the reading said, lead to a week mission statement, and theirs was a little lengthy. It was to honor and empower. That was kind of one of the trigger words. Wounded warriors and foster the successful, well-adjusted generation of wounded service members in our nation's history. That's kind of a lot of, I don't know exactly what they do based on, the reading. And I remember reading a book a while ago called Made to Stick. And they talked about Southwest and that, and how, their mission was to be the low cost airfare leader. And they would have different company meetings and stuff, and they'd always fall back on their mission statement and say, we've had all these requests for meals on the plane, but how does that make us a low cost, value brand? And, they would turn down all these customer recommendations because it didn't fit with their mission statement and what they wanted to do. The other brand article talked a little bit more about brand management and brand development, and how, just the way your company does business is going to be speaking for you. And they had the IDEA framework, IDEA, typical spelling, no mystery there, but it stood for integrity is the I, and that's how strong your internal and external view of your mission is aligned. Is what you're doing on the day-to-day and at your company, is that what people on the outside of the company are seeing? And that kind of leads into the D, which is democracy, and that's how well your volunteers, your employees, and your staff are trusted to communicate the mission of the company. Do they know the core value? Are they able to, really distill what your company's about and project that to the world? Communication these days in a company now doesn't always take place at the highest level. Any employee can, make a video, a post on social media, put in a couple hashtags, and have it go viral. And, whether it's aligned with your company's core values and your mission or not, it really doesn't matter, because that's now what everyone in the world is going to think your company is about. The E is the ethics, and that kind of goes into, how your internal values mesh with how, your external view of your company. So if you're a company or a nonprofit, say, that is trying to save the world or save a rainforest, and you guys print everything on paper at work, and you don't recycle, and you do a bunch of stuff like that, how is the external view of your company and your mission, how is that relating with your day-to-day, your internal workings? And then the A is affinity, and that's kind of how your brand works with others, how much people want to, how they view your company and how they want to work with you or don't want to work with you based on, how you kind of treat other nonprofits or other companies. Do people want to collaborate with you? Are you known for, doing good work? The other two articles focused more on actual communication, and the first one was a little shorter, and it kind of to me seemed more like tactical communication, talking about how every interaction at every level of your company, says something about the big picture at your company. It's not always the executive that's out there saying, hey, this is what we value, this is our goal, but someone working in your shipping department can sometimes have just as big of a impact on another stakeholder as a CEO does. And oftentimes more people are going to be dealing with and communicating with your, tactical level employees. You might put out one press release a quarter or something from the executive level, but your lower level employees, they need to know, the mission of your company. They need to be integrated and know how they can best, portray your company or your nonprofit organization, whatever you guys are doing. The other article talked more about the strategic communication that companies face. It kind of laid out, some guidelines, and that, your senior management should always be involved. You must have it integrated. There must be channels to communicate up, down, and laterally at your company to make sure that, your communications and everything is spread to everyone. If you have a board meeting and you have the best ideas ever and you have no way to communicate that to, your employees where the rubber meets the road, that's not communication at the strategic level. It's just not. Your communications need to be long term. They need to be focused towards building a relationship. You should have, a lot of companies are reactive with their communication. They gave the example of the Exxon Valdez spill and a couple others, but really you should be proactive. You should have these relationships built, and these communications should be ongoing. There shouldn't be a lot of big surprises for people if you're communicating regularly and letting them know, what's going on. They talked about a few other ways too, that can change how communication is done at your company. Whether it's new laws, they mentioned Sarbanes-Oxley, and some other fair reporting laws that changed how accounting firms and other financial firms communicate with different stakeholders and different analysts and things like that. And then also different crises can definitely change, how you communicate with your different stakeholders, both internally and externally. And that's what I took from this week's readings. I look forward to seeing everyone else's.